All right.
Okay. There it is.
It
And
wasn't loud, but it was
it was
decisive.
it was decisive. It was softly crisp. Softly crisp. Yes,
A delicate operation.
it was. And tonight I'm having some rosés. Very simple, no crazy cocktails tonight in a little sort of rosy type,
You got
well,
your,
it's like a flower tulip type glass.
you got your fancy glass.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Well, la di da. I have my Narragansett beer glass.
Ooh. Oh, yes. And what's the beer tonight?
Not drinking Narragansett beer. This is
Oh,
a very local brewery
nice.
in Ridgefield, right down the road. Nod
Cool.
Hill Brewery, and the
Nice.
beer is I'm okay, you're okay.
Don't we all need to hear that these days? We do.
And I think it's very apt for a tasty beer.
Well, that is lovely. Is it hoppy? Is it bitter? Is it very sippable?
Oh, it's very simple. It's a pale ale, dry hopped, Citra and Simcoe.
Ooh. Oh, and Philip J. Curtis, our friend, just came in.
There
I
he
arrived
is.
just in time for the opening of the
I'm
can. Yes, you did, Philip.
still looking for that pickle flavored beer, Philip, but I haven't found any.
That's right.
I'm a
We
little
love you.
relieved that I haven't found any, because if I see it, I'm going to have to get some.
I
But
mean, you obviously will. If I see it around, I'm gonna have
yeah,
to get some for you for whenever I'm able to see you in person, which Lord
kind of
knows.
hoping I don't. But
I kind of don't want to taste that. Oh, that's too funny. Oh, I watch on my phone too, so I can like comment and like everything and look around. So I just got myself in there. I'm all set.
it's a
Chris, I haven't done some crazy eyeshadow colors in a minute. I always try and do my best, but I haven't done yellow and pink recently. So, I'm having fun.
very nice. Mine is very subtle. I
Oh,
don't know,
wow, wow, Chris.
it's
Chris.
a little bit of lavender and taupe.
You know what, Chris? Yes.
You can
Lavender
tell,
and
right?
taupe looking amazing on you. But you know what, Chris? It's just you're just effortlessly cool looking.
That's me. That's my vibe. That's how I
That's your vibe.
roll. Effortlessly cool. And I
Oh,
have a tattoo
oh, do
right
you
on
have a
my rear end. Effortlessly cool. That's where it's
yes.
coming.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Mom's here.
Hey, Mom.
Mona's here.
Lona.
Awesome.
Hello to
And
everyone joining us.
we're getting ready for the big snowstorm of the year.
Of the
We're gonna
of,
have.
of, of the brand new Mercury retrograde, if you
Is that
are
what's happening?
watching the horoscopes right now.
There's going to be some big wind gusts, which I'm terrified by. It's going to be, more of this, more of this. Whoa! And trees falling down and losing power. But at least they're going to wait till our show is done.
Yeah, that was really quite something when we had our dear Michael White on here, and it was the craziest, windiest night. It really affected our connection. So thank goodness it's not coming through until after midnight, and hopefully none of you will have any big headaches from this impending situation of snow. And hopefully you don't have to go anywhere. You could just look out the window and just enjoy it and sip your hot cocoa and try and forget about how crazy things are in the world right now.
No school tomorrow.
No school tomorrow. Well, online school.
Not even online school for
Ooh, for
Frank.
Ridgefield. Wow.
It's going to be bad enough that they just want everybody to stay home and chillax.
Well, I think it couldn't hurt to have in terms of like not that we need more time at home, but it's hard right now. It's hard right now. Having some extra time to relax, read a book, enjoy some entertainment and writing time perhaps is always a good thing,
Shovel some snow.
Shovel some snow.
And go sliding, as my mother-in-law calls it.
Ooh, indeed.
You're gonna go sliding.
Sliding.
Meaning sledding, but she
Sledding.
calls it sliding.
I like it. I like it.
From Rhode Island. They got weird things. They say things.
Well, Chris, it is 7:00. So
Yes,
we need to officially welcome our people to FUMFA 39. And we have with us tonight, I know, special guest poet, Julie Kane, who we're really excited to welcome. And actually to welcome back, she was with us for our memorial for Kim Bridgeford, and now on a feature reading of her own, and we're so excited to hear from her. And we have a FUMFA first tonight, which is Joanna Meyers and a cast of FUMFA friends reading parts in her screenplay. So we're going to have a bit of a screenplay, almost like a radio drama type thing going on after Julie Kane reads. So we're really looking forward to that. And of course, you'll all have to stick around for the Q&A at 8. So we hope you enjoy everything, and make sure that you ask all your questions, share all your comments, throw all of those emojis in there, and enjoy your time tonight. But Chris, tell us, after this fabulous night that we have tonight, what is coming up?
What is coming up? All right, next week we have got special guest poet Nicole Caruso Garcia.
Woo!
And also FUMFA's own Lonely, who has a book coming out.
So exciting.
Right around that time. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's right around that week.
February 9th.
And this is our special Super Bowl show, by the way, next week. It's Super Bowl night, and we're counting on our artsy fartsy literary friends to tune in. And who needs to see that Tom Brady? Who needs that? Nobody.
We are your football alternative. Your Super Bowl alternative. You're better than
Tom Brady when you get this guy right here.
Right, yeah.
That's it. Then the next week we got Valentine's night, romance night.
Romance night.
That's right. We got a FUMFA alumnus, Meredith Kaiser, who happens to be the writer of romance novels.
Ooh.
She's going to be reading, I believe, from a new tome. And then we're going to have a little open mic action.
Yes.
Some romantic goings on with our friends Megan Muldowney,
Woo!
Susan M. Davis, Philip J. Curtis. Watch out. That one could be rated R.
I see. Yes. Rated R. We're very excited, very excited. And of course, we have lots more other great stuff coming up for you. And if you are a writer out there who would love to read on our live stream, of course, many of you have filled out the survey, and we are going through that. But please let us know of your interest, and we'd love to get you on the schedule or get you involved in an open mic or theme night. And well, without further ado, I'd love to read Julie Kane's bio for all of you tonight. Okay, so let me share with you a little bit about Julie Kane, our special guest poet. Julie Kane's most recent book is Mothers of Ireland. Past collections include Rhythm and Booze, a National Poetry Series winner and finalist for the Poets Prize, and Jazz Funeral, winner of the Donald Justice Poetry Prize. With Grace Bauer, she co-edited Nasty Women Poets, an unapologetic anthology of subversive verse. And with H.L. Hicks, she co-edited Terribly in Love, selected poems in English translation by the Lithuanian writer Tatvida Mars. Julie's going to have to help me pronounce that name later. She is a former Louisiana Poet Laureate, Fulbright Scholar, and George Bennett Fellow. in writing at Phillips Exeter Academy, Professor Emeritus of English at Northwestern State University of Louisiana, where she won the College of Arts and Sciences Excellence in Teaching Award. She currently teaches in the low residency MFA program at Western Colorado University. So awesome. And we're excited to welcome her very soon. And Chris, can you share with us Joanna Meyers' bio?
I absolutely would be happy to. Joanna is a UConn alumnus and a Fairfield University MFA candidate. She melded her career as an underwriter/broker in Manhattan, Seattle, Chicago, and Philadelphia with her life as a Coast Guard spouse and mother. But the needs of the service played whack-a-mole with her professional goals. On the day she gave her firstborn to the Coast Guard Academy, she passed by a bronze statue of a bear named Objectionable Presence. To keep her mind off her swab, she resurrected the bear's fading history and recorded it as a children's picture book. On the day of its release, 195 people stood in line for a signed copy. Joanna now owns the small imprint Dancing Quahog Publishing, which focuses upon animal mascots in the military, including the Legend of Obji and the East Wind Penguin. She's also a USEF competing equestrian. Her equine-related writing was featured in the breed journal, The Morgan Horse. Her novel in progress, Thunderbird Rising, is the centerpiece of her FUMFA work. She credits her mentor, the great Bill Patrick, for inspiring the out-of-genre screenplay that reigned in her epic beast and is now core to the compelling drama, with the support of her mentor, Mr. Bill Patrick, as well as Professors Shelley Evans and Michelle Miller and her MFA colleague Joe Linhart, her colleague and playwright Carrie Davies. The first act of Thunderbird Rising, the screenplay, will be read tonight.
Woo! Oh my God, that's so exciting. So we've got such an exciting night for you guys tonight. Special guest poet Julie Kane, and then Joanna Meyers with FUMFA friends reading from her screenplay. But without further ado, let's welcome our very first guest. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Chris, for having me. I'm going to read a few poems from my new book, Mothers of Ireland. I love the cover that they did.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Thank you. And then I'm going to read some poems written during the last 11 months of this pandemic.
Oh, Lord. Well, we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Julie.
Okay. And I'll start, since Valentine's Day is coming up, I will start with one about the courtship of two of my great-grandparents. My great-grandfather, Jack Lynch, proposed to my great-grandmother, Mary McCarthy, in Ireland, and she said no and took off for America. And this takes up from there. This is second time around. Back when I used to smoke, I'd stub them out in crystal ashtrays all around the house that turned my stomach, emptied in the trash. Times when I slipped the last one from the pack too late at night to risk a run for more at some gas station / convenience store, I'd comb through ashes for the longest butts, then light them up again without disgust. Minnie McCarthy scandalized the town of Knockmulon, Cork, turning Jack Lynch down. Pretty girls wanted American fun, not boredom in Ireland with a farmer's son. He followed her over and found her on her knees scrubbing Protestant toilets for a couple bucks a week and proposed to her again with no resistance met. He was the longest butt she was going to get. And another story of a rather strange relationship. This whole book is really about my Irish and Irish American women ancestors and how the hard times that they went through kind of shaped who they were and also shaped their mothering, so that, things got passed down to future generations, kind of warped future generations. Should I maybe get up and turn off that light? Is it glaring?
Julie, the light is great. Actually, I'm going to put you in and out of the stream. There's just a tiny bit of lag. I loved that first poem, by the way. Okay, I'm just going to remove you and put you back to try and fix the audio. Okay, let me hear you talk a little bit.
How's that now?
It's perfect.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. This poem is the Johns. Unfortunately, it's true. It's about my grandma Agnes. It's true that my grandma Agnes named 3 children John, living children, not dead, all bearing the name of John. You might assume she was crazy about her husband, John, but the truth is, following childbirth, she truly hated John. Torn and bleeding, worn out, she put the blame on John. When the nurse came around with the form, there'd be no sign of John. Agnes would hiss at the nurse, "Oh, Christ, just put down John." Once she got home with the child, she'd grow attached to John. Then she'd begin to call him some name other than John. But it caused some mix-ups at school that they were all named John, and the draft board wasn't amused that they were all named John. My Uncle Jim was the only son who was not named John. He was named for Agnes's father, who was a James, not John. James Glenn died on a mental ward surrounded by John Does. Jim Kane was always a good boy, unlike the 3 bad Johns. Okay, and this one, these days we're all wearing tights if we're wearing anything at all, but in the old days of nylon stockings and which even preceded pantyhose, the kind of genesis for this poem came about. It's called A Pair of Nylon Stockings, and it has a little epigraph from Kate Chopin, her short story, A Pair of Silk Stockings, that goes, "But she went on feeling the soft, sheeny, luxurious things with both hands now, holding them up to see them glisten and to feel them glide serpent-like through her fingers." And now my part is, my mother washed her stockings all at once. The bathroom was a cave on nights they hung stalactite-like and dripping. I had one lone pair and prayed to God they wouldn't run. Long hours of babysitting neighbor brats, my way of earning the replacement cash. The only stocking color I could buy to not be outcast from my junior high was cinnamon. My red-brown legs would clash bizarrely with the rest of my pale flesh, but all we teenage girls had legs that matched, and we conformists were relieved at that. That whiff of acetone, when someone dabbed clear polish on a run to stop its tracks right in the middle of algebra class, the odor filled our lungs like mustard gas. My mother saw conspiracies. She swore that stockings never ran before the war when nylon went to making parachutes. Those chemists make them run to rake in loot, she'd hiss. But she had more than she could wear, still in their packaging, to my one pair. Those times I'd buy a brand unknown to me, only to find they only reached mid-knee. Those black mascara tears I used to cry. These days, even a death can leave eyes dry. I washed my stockings in the bathroom sink before I went to bed at night and cringed on mornings they were damp against my skin. Imagine buying stockings on a whim. I could afford to now, but I don't care, teaching in sandals with my veined legs bare. And this one is also a poem with my mother in it, or kind of. It's a villanelle, and it's called I Dreamed of Being Mothered by a Cat, a line you will probably get thoroughly sick of by the end. I dreamed of being mothered by a cat, sunk in her plush as in a feather bed. I'd never known a happiness like that. My human mother's claws would not retract. Even her language could unzip her red. I dreamed of being mothered by a cat who'd give her life to save me from attack. I sensed that fierceness in her as I fed. I'd never known a happiness like that. If there were siblings, I ignored that fact. I had her to myself, or I forget the whole time I was mothered by a cat. One dream can strike you like a thunderclap. That mother cat, more goddess than a pet. I've never known a happiness like that. The world was pure sensation, not abstract, some realm between the living and the dead. I dreamed of being mothered by a cat, and something healed inside me after that. Okay. And the next batch I'm going to read is very different. These are all duplexes, that wonderful new form invented by Jericho Brown. I got started writing them this past summer when I was teaching a graduate course in the Western Colorado University MFA program. My students and I were all going to try writing one day, and one of my students came up with the prompt for us, which was, I will not write a pandemic poem. And I don't know what happened, but that got me started, and I can't seem to stop writing duplexes that begin with that line. But I'll read some of them, and these are not yet published. So, and in fact, I think this is the first time I've ever read these. So they might be horrible, but you'll be the judge. This is a duplex old dog. I will not write a pandemic poem. I'll take the old dog for another walk. I'll drag poor Vixen on another walk, which is really more standing around and sniffing, more peeing on things and standing and sniffing, although it's quite nice to be sniffing magnolias, inhaling the lemony sweet magnolias. It's rare to be out of the house unmasked. These days, the masks are not symbolic. I dread being leashed to an oxygen tank. Not cute, like Vixen's pink leash with rhinestones. Remember when we used to take breathing for granted? I hope to keep breathing till funerals can happen, all the while writing non-pandemic poems. And this one, duplex masks. I will not write a pandemic poem. People aren't wearing masks in my dreams. People still go unmasked in my dreams, though shoppers are pretty good in Walmart. Even the rednecks are behind bandanas despite the rebellious slogans on t-shirts. Look out for rebellious t-shirt wearers. They'll cough on anyone anti-Trump. Worrying my cart could get me coughed on. I cover the vegan dinners with the National Enquirer. I'm not a vegan, but I like the dinners. Nobody wears a mask in the National Enquirer. Nobody's wearing a mask in my dreams yet, but masks are required to enter my poems. This one, my sister Susan has done something constructive during this pandemic. She's started this Instagram account, Suzetta Natasha, where she dresses up in a different outfit of her own clothes every day, and her husband takes a picture of her somewhere posed around the house or the yard. So this is duplex Instagram. I will not write a pandemic poem. I'll see what Susan's wearing on Instagram. My sister started posting on Instagram wearing her own clothes, each day a new look. Each day a new look. How long till she repeats? She's hoping to become a brand ambassador. Cool free stuff gets sent to brand ambassadors. She hashtags anthropology a lot. Today, it's a sleeveless orange polka dot dress worn with an antique watch and nude ballet flats. When we were little girls in the same ballet class, she was a dainty fairy. I tripped on my feet. I stopped counting feet, and Susan started posting somewhere in month 5 of the great pandemic. And let's see.
Julie,
Oh, another.
sorry to pop in again. I love these pandemic poems, and I love how they each start with "I will not write a pandemic poem." They're so good. I feel like if your phone is near your computer, can you just move it to the side? We're having a little bit of an audio blip. We can still hear you very well, but just want to make sure that we can take that. Okay, and
okay, I wasn't on any app, but I wonder what's going on. Okay.
No, but we're still able to hear you, and we're loving your poems. All right. Thank you so much, Julie. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Back again. Another one, sadly, also a true poem. This is TB. I will not write a pandemic poem. I'll think of a cheerful topic like TB. When one of my relatives came down with TB, his doctor recommended the fresh air of Ireland. It'll knock you off sea cliffs, the fresh air of Ireland. He crossed the Atlantic to Mogeely, Cork, and paid well to lodge in Mogeely, Cork, with my second great aunt, Hannah Forrest's family. Hannah fed him gobs of fresh churned butter. He grew ruddy to the Forrest children's pallor as Ellen, Hannah Jr., and Michael Forrest perished of TB, to their parents weeping. I wonder, did he weep, hearing sad Irish poems back home in America, cured of the pandemic? Couple more. Pac-Man. I will not write a pandemic poem. The college kids are trickling back to town. The college kids are cruising around town like Pac-Man icons on a video screen. Like Pac-Man icons on a video screen, which phrase reveals that I am old as dirt. I'm old as dirt and helpless as a dot near gaping mouths resembling pizza slices, near unmasked mouths resembling pizza slices. My beautiful killers, so sleek and fit, they are back from their summers sleek and fit. I too once viewed the old as creepy and annoying. Now I am old and creepy and annoying as sophomore lit with its depressing poems. And let's see, I'll read one more of these. Hurricane Laura. I will not write a pandemic poem. I'm still in trauma from the hurricane. I can't stop shaking from the hurricane. The Conlins crashing all around the house. The Conlins taking down the power lines. Staticky country music on the radio. One lone channel on the radio, but still the comfort of a human voice. The comfort of a poet memorized voice. On whom thy tempest fell all night. Tempests were falling on me all that night. I lay awake and hugged my teddy bear, a grown-ass woman with her teddy bear, praying for as yet unwritten poems. And I'll end with one back from Mothers of Ireland again, a little sonnet, and this is called As If. As if the corpse behind the crime scene tape got up and took a bow where it dropped dead. As if I got a phone call from the grave and asked its occupant to share my bed. 9 years ago, we fought and split apart with our beloved city underwater. I turned to short-term lovers in the dark. You moved in with a southern judge's daughter. I have to pinch myself to prove you're back, though balder, 10 pounds thinner, better dressed. As if the universe had jumped a track, no hurricane, no choices second guessed. At times, My ears pick up the strangest sound, as if the dead were clapping underground. Thank you.
Julie, thank you so much for those gorgeous, gorgeous poems. They were absolutely gorgeous. And I can't wait to ask you about them in the Q&A at 8. And you'll have to, later tonight, go back and see all of the fabulous comments people left for you.
Okay.
Excited to ask about everything. Thank you so much, Julie. All
Thank
right.
you so much, Katie. All right. See you later.
We will see you soon. All right. And so now we're going to get ready to bring up Joanna Meyers and her cast. Hi, Joanna. How are you? All right. So,
you ready for this? Are we ready?
We're ready.
Hold on. All right.
All right. I have something quick to say, if I may.
That's great.
All right. Hey, everybody's here. Thank you, Chris and Katie, very much, and thanks, Julie. It's a privilege to share the stage with you tonight. This is the first time that I'm sharing Thunderbird Rising in the public square, and I don't think I'd be here if it weren't for one of my favorite quotes. I wouldn't have the guts to be here, and it's a quote by Benjamin Mead that says, "Sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage, just literally 20 seconds of just embarrassing bravery, and I promise you something great will come of it." So when Chris and Katie sent out the message looking for readers, I messaged in 20 seconds. They'd pick me. When they said yes, 20 seconds later, I messaged all of my inimitable professors, Bill and Shelley, and my colleagues, Michelle, Terry, and Joe, and begged them to take the ride with me. And the something great is being here with all of you tonight, so thank you. And then we'll kick it off with Bill. Bill's going to be our narrator, and he starts tonight.
Okay, here we go. Kellen Dulé, a brilliant young scientist, must use her patented technology to stop her family's mine from destroying her neighbor's tribal lands. Or she will forever lose the love and respect of her best childhood friend, the NIPSCO chief's son, Junior. We begin her story 15 years ago.
Fade in. Exterior, barn, day. 3 Fens walk around the Johnson barn and examine pieces of horse manure. A 2-story log home and fenced pasture among pines are in the background. Kellen Dulé, age 13, tall, skinny, dark hair, fair complexion. Junior Johnson, age 13, tall, linebacker build, dark hair and complexion. Zara Johnson, age 10, petite, long dark hair and complexion, sister of Junior. Heavy machinery rumbles obnoxiously in the distance. Zara wears goggles, yellow kitchen gloves, and holds barbecue tongs. Horses peek out stall doors from inside the barn aisle.
And why are we out here picking up horse shit?
Did you know?
I hear a lecture coming.
Kellen smiles wryly.
Did I know what? Oh, please share with the class.
Oh, you think you're funny. Did you know that horse manure burns like firewood?
That's it? That's all you got?
And did you know that horse pellets are high BTU, low ash, and for that matter, low emission fuel? For this experiment, I'll use a non-catalytic...
Okay, I'll collect the poop if you just stop talking, oh Princess of Delay.
Small concussive boom far away. The 3 stop and look.
What the hell?
Kellen seems unconcerned, goes back to picking up poop.
Oh, Aunt Delay told me to stay clear of the mine today.
But didn't think to tell us? What is it with you castle dwellers?
Junior, not nice.
Oh, I don't like it either, but mostly because it scares your horses.
And it's dangerous, Princess?
Look, I don't call you Prince of NIPSCO Nation. Lay off my unroyal castle.
Zara, arm outstretched, holds a piece of horse manure with her tongs.
We're okay. How's this one?
Just pick up the dry ones. The wet ones won't burn.
Okay. Ew.
Zara drops it.
Why are you so afraid of horse shit?
It's just digested hay and grains there. Really. See?
Kellen lobs a horse poop at Zara, who screams and ducks. A horse whinnies loudly from inside the barn.
Oh, relax, Rain. She's fine. Jeez. Your horse knows your voice. You'd think he was your guard dog.
Kellen and Junior toss multiple horse poops at Zara.
Hey, cut it out.
Louder concussive boom, closer to the barn than the mine. The three drop everything in their hands. The horses whinny in high pitch.
What was that?
I've been telling you, your family mine is dangerous.
Massive concussive boom next to the barn. The back corner of the barn explodes in flames. The three kids are blown to the ground. Horses scream, pound doors. The kids stumble, get up, shocked.
Rainy!
Zara runs into the barn.
Sarah, no, what are you doing?
He runs after her. Kellen follows him. In the barn, smoke fills the barn. Fire claws up walls and creeps toward the entrance. Horses scream and pound walls with hooves and bodies. Zara's horse whinnies to her.
I'm right here, Rain.
Zara opens his stall door. He flies to the back wall when he sees her bright gloves. She peels them off.
It's okay. It's okay.
Kellen, open their doors.
Across the aisle, Kellen feels for the hot latches, slides the doors open across the barn aisle.
Out, all of you. Out.
She waves her arms. Each horse runs out the front door. The last horse knocks her to the ground. She pulls herself up. Junior jumps into Summer Rain's stall.
Sarah, get out. I'll get him.
Rainy, put your head down. Junior, I can't reach him.
Junior easily reaches up, halters Rain. Zara holds the lead. The horse rears, pulling Zara with him. Kellen feels for a towel on a rack and hands it to Junior, who dunks it in the water bucket. He throws the wet towel over Rain's eyes and hands Zara the lead.
Go. Don't look back. Keep talking to him.
Rainbow hesitantly follows Zara. Junior and Kellen hurry beside them. They make it out of the barn. Outside the barn, day.
Help her put him in the paddock.
No, I don't want him to burn.
I'll be safe there.
Summer Rain rears up, pulls the lead from Zara's hand. He disappears behind the blazing barn.
Rainy!
He'll run up to the hill pasture.
The horse flies back around the other side of the fire. He runs into the burning barn. Zara turns to follow him.
Sarah, we can't go back in now.
Junior turns his back to Zara.
Do you have your phone?
Kellen pulls out her flip phone, starts dialing 911. Sirens in the distance, getting louder.
I think they're already coming.
Zara stands too close to the flames and yells for her horse. He whinnies. She turns back, looks at Junior, then runs into the barn.
Sarah, oh my God, no, 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 no.
Part of the roof collapses. Screams inside the barn. Fire trucks and an ambulance pull in. Firefighters scramble with equipment. Kellen and Junior scream to them.
My sister is in there.
Oh, okay. Back up. We'll get your sister.
Her horse is in there too.
Intense heat. Red lights flash like strobes in gray smoke. Fire spits toward the Johnson home. Junior moves closer to the barn entrance.
Junior, don't go in there, please.
A firefighter grabs Junior and pulls him away. He tries to fight back.
Let me go. I need to get her out.
Firefighter drags him near the truck. Kellen follows.
I need you to stay right here, right now, so I can get in and get her. Stay here so we can do our job. Do you understand me?
Junior stops struggling as the firefighter yells orders to his crew.
Stay with him. Keep him here.
The firefighters, air packs on backs, advance with a hose into the flames. Kellen stands next to Junior and puts her arms around him.
Junior, they'll get her out. Don't worry.
Flames from the barn claw the sky. Wood explodes. Firefighters rush out of the flames as the back of the barn caves in. They cradle Zara's limp body. Junior and Kellen run to her, but are held back by two other firefighters. They block the kids' view of Zara.
Don't go over there.
Kellen gets wide-eyed.
Why? Is she dead? Is there a dad?
Junior turns to Kellen. He stares at her in anger, then shoves her.
This is your family's fault. You kill everything.
Junior walks away from her and toward the ambulance. Kellen stands in shock and disbelief. Zara's horse screams inside the barn as it collapses. 15 years later, present day, funeral home, night. Gray walls with brass sconces shine. Great Uncle William lies in an open casket. Rain pelts lead glass windows. Small groups of people sit and chat in rows of chairs. A local TV camera crew films in the reception area. Great Aunt Patricia Dulé, age 68, tall, fair complexion, perfectly coiffed white hair, intense eyes, stands to the right of the casket. She greets the last few dripping people. An older Indian man and his wife approach Great Aunt Patricia.
Oh, my. Look at you. Thank you so very much for coming out on this horrid night, darlings. William would have been so happy to see you.
The couple moves down the line to Susan Dulé, 55, average build, auburn hair, fair complexion. They continue to Al Dulé, 55, tall, slightly overweight, 5 o'clock shadow on fair skin, tousled, wavy hair.
Thank you for coming tonight. William so appreciated your business.
Thank you for honoring William.
The last mourner in line moves to the casket. Patricia, Al, and Susan remain. Many small groups of business associates talk among themselves.
Hey, where the hell is your child, Al?
Drop it down a notch, Patricia. She's been flying all day.
You know, your driver never showed up for her after you insisted on sending one.
I said that I would do that? Oh, it must have slipped my mind, dear.
It's fine, Patricia. She's self-sufficient. And by the way, not a child. She's 27.
She's only coming home to use my lab. There is not an ounce of loyalty in her blood.
It was William's lab.
Maybe, but...
No, maybe. He gave it to her. Oh. That's why you didn't send a driver?
I still can control what she does with it, and it better be to increase the mining's earnings and profits.
There's more to life than money.
Patricia slips into raucous laughter. Mourners stare.
Hence, why William assigned you to be estate maintenance.
That was my choice. Don't make me change my mind.
Susan steps aside, looks at her iPhone.
I got Kellen's Uber notification. She's almost here.
Interior funeral home night. Main door slams shut with a bang. Kellen enters, her face hidden under her hood. Water drips, puddles form around her. She drops her luggage loudly. Everyone turns to look at her. She flips the hood back.
Well, look what the wind blew in.
Kellen ignores Patricia and walks up to the casket. She kneels.
I'm sorry I'm late. And I know I wasn't here for you when you're sick, but I really missed you. I'm using the lessons you taught me. I want you to be proud of me.
Kellen stands and turns, bumping into a now hovering Patricia.
You come in late and walked right past me. What do you have to say for yourself?
Sorry? I am so very sorry for your loss.
Why do you even bother?
Lower your voice. Did you see the film crew?
Of course. I called them here.
You called them to a funeral?
The camera crew moves in closer. Mourners gasp.
They're here for my big announcement.
Oh, figures. You have to be the center of attention, even at somebody else's funeral.
Kellen looks toward the gawking crowd, then turns back and kneels in front of the casket again.
I'm so happy you're finally relieved of your earthly burden. May you rest in peace.
Kellen looks directly at Patricia.
Goodness knows we won't get any.
The door flies open and bangs shut again. Chief Joseph Johnson, 54, tall, noble, dark complexion, short haircut, custom-tailored suit. He walks confidently past everyone to the casket, puts his hand on William's hand, and says a short Native American prayer in the Nipsko language.
He never planned to mine the Nipsko Hill. That was her idea.
Chief looks toward Kellen but says nothing.
She ruined him.
This is not the time or place for that.
Your Uncle William had the greatest respect for you.
Kellen looks down, then nervously turns back to Chief Johnson.
Can you tell Junior I'm back from London?
Chief sighs loudly.
I'm truly sorry for your loss.
He turns to walk out and nods only to Susan. The camera crew films as a reporter is heard in the background.
Tribal leader Johnson of the Nipskos, despite years of ongoing lawsuits between his nation and Dulé Industries, is here to pay his respects to William.
Joseph, please stay. You'll want to hear this, trust me.
Johnson stops, continues to look toward the door. Mourners gawk.
Patricia, unless you are announcing that you will be joining your husband, I doubt you have anything of value to say.
Sick
It is
burn.
believed that William Dulé was Johnson's mentor years before a mysterious barn fire that many blamed on mining practices, a fire that killed Johnson's 9-year-old daughter.
Patricia grabs the microphone from the reporter.
Today, Dulé Industries announces the greatest progress ever in the history of mining. My grandniece has returned from the University of Cambridge with a patent that will revolutionize extractions. She will be working in my lab over the next year as a condition of her PhD.
The reporter grabs the microphone.
Oh, Miss Dulé, what about the Nipsko's injunctions?
Patricia ignores the reporter as Johnson glares at Kellen and then Patricia. He strides to the door and leaves. Kellen rises and turns to Patricia.
I don't have time for this. I own the patent and the lab, not you.
Patricia eyeballs the camera crew, takes a deep breath, runs her hand over her hair.
You're right, you dumb bitch. You don't have much time.
Are you threatening me?
You're here because I allow it. Do you want your PhD?
Of course I do, but I don't need a PhD to know you're a pathological narcissist. Please excuse me. I have a lab to set up.
Kellen brushes past her aunt, hugs Susan and Al. She grabs her bags. They head out into the wind and rain.
As you just heard, while Breton mourns the loss of its benefactor, the future of the country's largest extractor of rare earth metals appears to be in some doubt. This is a sad day in more ways than one for Dulé Industries. Back to you, Don.
The next day at the Dulé mine, which borders both Nipsko land and the Dulé estate, Patricia commands her foreman to tone down extraction explosions. She brags about high-level connections and is confident that she will prevail in an upcoming court case between Dulé and the Nipskos. At the same time, Kellen moves into her inherited lab with her parents' help. They implore her to get along with her great-aunt in order to finish her research. Frustrated, she takes a drive and ends up at Zara's grave. Kellen tells Zara about her new patent and how it can also restore everything Patricia has destroyed. Knowing no one can really hear her, she professes her love for Junior. We rejoin the action again with Kellen conducting research 2 days later.
Exterior, Nipsko Pond, day. 4 stakes mark a patch of green grass next to black water and dead trees. Probes in the grass connect to an iPad on a tarp. A notebook is next to the iPad. Kellen picks up the iPad, disconnects probes. She swipes.
I knew it. Mucin-based ichthyo abatement is more efficient than helianthus phytoremediation.
She puts down the iPad, picks up the notebook, and scribbles. She hops over one wire, trips on the second one. Its probe pops out of the ground.
God damn it.
Sounds of footsteps crunching on dead branches. Junior walks with strong military bearing toward Kellen.
What are you doing here?
Kellen stands stiffly. Awkward silence.
You're talking to me now?
You're on the wrong side of the mine, Princess.
You look more like you're. Did you really enlist in the Navy after Yale?
No, Coast Guard. What are you doing here?
Kellen points to the newly sprouting green patch.
I'm doing this.
Patricia approaches, unseen by them. She hides behind a dead bush.
This is another application of my patent. Check it out. The hagfish hydrogel's in here.
What?
Hagfish. They excrete slime that can hyperaccumulate toxins and neutralize them.
Hagfish? You're not serious. Am I seeing Cambridge and you're burning fish in the dirt?
Not fish, eels. And the Navy uses the same technology. Go Navy. They got it from Uncle William in the 70s.
Oh, don't bullshit me.
I'm not bullshitting anybody. I'm building on Uncle William's technology.
Are you high?
Junior, come on, you know me better than that.
Do I?
You know, drugs cause nerve cells to turn off the genes that actually manage how many receptors they carry, and they inhibit the communication between the nerves.
I guess I do. Stop talking.
She looks pleadingly at him. He looks at the patch.
Junior, I am a year away from my PhD. I'm not collecting horse shit anymore.
You ran away from all this years ago. Why are you?
Because I miss Zara and I miss.
She stops abruptly.
You missed the explosion? You missed the losses?
Oh, please listen to me.
Your great aunt was on the news spewing about this patent and how it would increase mining extraction.
Yes, but it can also do this.
She points emphatically again to the green patch.
Look, there, please listen to me.
I stopped listening to you the day that Sarah died.
Kellen looks intently at Junior.
I can restore what she destroyed. I need to.
Patricia silently leaves. He stares back, shakes his head, and then walks away.
You're not the only one whose heart is broken.
Junior looks back at her. He starts to say something but stops himself, then walks away.
The next day, Patricia's influence allows her to prevail in the court case, as she had predicted. In the courtroom, Kellen sits on the NIPSCO side, infuriating Patricia. The action picks up as Kellen returns to her lab after the trial's conclusion.
Exterior, garage, day. Kellen, in the Mustang convertible, pulls up next to a white truck parked by the garage door. Two men, one old and tattooed, one younger and muscled, dump her boxed equipment outside.
Hey, what the hell?
They shrug and go back to work. She parks, jumps out, and grabs her small hagfish fridge from one.
Do whatever you want with it, lady. We were told to get it out of the garage in 30 minutes or less.
Kellen puts the mini fridge down.
Who told you this? And who are you?
Security detail for Mrs. Dulay.
Security for what? Get the hell away from my stuff.
Just following orders.
He puts the fridge in the Mustang.
Touch another piece of my equipment and I'll...
She stops mid-sentence.
You know, this stuff is highly toxic. Did you touch anything wet?
They both laugh nervously and look at each other.
I'm a biochemist. You really need to go home and shower if you want to live for more than a week.
Mover one tucks his shirt and sees dark spots. His eyes get wide.
She's not paying me enough for this.
It takes a week before your hair falls out and then...
Is that a hose here?
No hose. Is that your hair on the ground? God, it works faster than I thought.
Where are my fucking car keys?
He digs in his pockets and looks at his spotted shirt. They get in the truck. Patricia drives up and parks. She steps out of her car.
Where are you two going?
Lady, I survived 6 tours in Nam. I'm not dying for you.
I simply asked you to move my packed boxes, boys. Get it together.
Patricia glances at Kellen, who stares back.
Move your own poison.
The movers drive away. Kellen storms up to Patricia.
Why are you doing this?
You lied to me.
You calling me a liar? That's twisted.
You're a liar. Your loyalty should be here with William's company.
It hasn't been his company since you conned him 15 years ago.
I saw you on Nipsco Island?
So what? I can do two things at once.
Patricia looks in the distance at the castle, then back at Kellen.
Joe Johnson will destroy everything your uncle built.
Isn't that your job description?
A police car, lights flashing, drives through the gates and stops behind the Jaguar. An officer steps out of the car, hand on his taser.
What's the problem, Patricia?
Call the cops?
Maybe nothing, but stand by, will you, Sam?
Patricia steps inches from Kellen.
Your name may be Dulé, but you do not live here anymore.
Patricia walks to the officer and tucks something in his pocket.
She's leaving.
Like hell I am. I inherited this building, and I'm the only real delay here.
Kellen pulls out her phone. She sees a text from her father. The police officer pulls out his taser.
You need to do as she says.
Kellen freezes in place.
May I load my boxes?
The police officer looks at Patricia, who nods.
Yes.
You know what needs to be done.
Kellen gets wide-eyed. Patricia gets in her car and drives toward the castle. Kellen's phone buzzes. It's a text from her mother. On a wild goose chase for Patricia. Will be home tomorrow. Love you.
I should have known. Patricia had this all planned.
Kellen gets in the car. She attaches the fridge plug to an adapter in her lighter socket. She dials her father. No answer. She departs Dulé Woods. The police car, lights flashing, tailgates her until she crosses the town line.
This concludes the first act of Thunderbird Rising. In Act 2, Kellen is rejected by 2 hotels. Her credit card is confiscated. She has no cash. Her patent samples begin to spoil. Risking the wrath of Patricia and the cops, she drives back to Dulé Mine. She conducts what she believes will be her last experiment with the dying hagfish samples. The next morning, she's found sleeping at Sarah's grave by Chief Johnson. 5 days later, the mine's dead earth sprouts the name Zara in green 10-foot letters. The war is on. Stay tuned.
Yay! Yay, Joanna.
Thank you, Joanna, and actors for a FUMFA first.
You want to name your actors, Joanna? You want to just run through the
Yes.
the cast list.
All right. So our esteemed narrator is William B. Patrick. Shelley Evans did our slug lines and our action lines. Thank you, Shelley. Joe Linhart was our chief, Al, and the firefighter. Tommy Myers was junior and mover number 2. And Nasty Patricia was played by Carrie Davies. Steve Michelle Miller was played Zara, Susan, and the reporter. Because I played Helen. And Chris Belden, who's got a movie coming out, in a year or so, right?
Fancy.
We hope.
Played mover number 1 and police officer. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough.
Oh my goodness, Joanna, that was so much fun. Admittedly, we've had a little bit of trouble with audio and some levels tonight, but that was a fabulous FUMFA first, and we would really love to have you back and to have you read even more from that with your wonderful actors. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what a great idea to combine poetry and drama. A single consciousness and then that collaborative effort, the two just, combine so well and play off each other so well. I love it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I completely agree, Julie. That was a lot of fun. And, typically we do a poet and a fiction writer, or a poet and nonfiction. This is our first time doing screenplay, and we would absolutely love to do more of that. And I love what you said, the single consciousness, and then we have this whole, this whole ensemble, and what a treat it was. And it was action too. I was stressed. and I was laughing as well. It was so much fun and very interesting topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an explosive.
Indeed. Absolutely. Well,
Patrick for that.
That sounds like a Bill Patrick influence right there. Well, welcome everyone to our Q&A with our special guest poet, Julie Kane, and our FUMFA friend, current FUMFA student and screenwriter, Joanna Meyers. And how about our Chris Belden as an actor? And also reminding us that his incredible book, Schreiber, is being made into a movie.
Well, yep, it's 2/3 of the way filmed, and of course they had to shut down. So we're waiting for
the pandemic,
out in Hollywood, and so they can get back to it. We hope.
Absolutely. So send in your questions. It's question time. Questions for Julie, questions for Joanna, questions for both. But we'll get started right now with kind of the question that we've been asking everyone during the pandemic, which is that for each of you, both of you, how has it been since March when everything very suddenly shut down? How has it been with your writing? How has it changed? How have you been more or less productive? And have there been any silver lining in all of this? Maybe you can start, Chris.
Me? You just heard, I guess, about my writing during the pandemic. I'm not usually a prolific writer, so actually I think, I've written, more than I generally would have in that span of time. And it's strange because, there's really nothing happening in the world outside. I guess, I'm just relying on memory.
I know what you mean, but I loved your pandemic poems so much.
Thank you.
And I specifically remember the lines where you said, I cover my vegan dinners with the National Enquirer. It's so good. And when you said that bats are required for entry into my poems, it was something like that. It was so powerful. And were all of those poems in the form duplex?
Yeah. Jericho Brown's, really very new poetic form where he kind of combined the 14 lines of the sonnet with the blues couplet and so then free verse. There's kind of an echo of the previous line in each, next line, but bound by rhyme or meter or anything like that.
Nice.
If you haven't read his book, The Tradition, which has a bunch of duplexes in it, oh my God, it's amazing. It's one of the best books I've read, in the last 10 years or so. But that's the form, and partly it was fun just playing with the form because it was so new, and I really didn't, had no expectations of what it could do, and partly it was the fun of knowing that my students had gotten me started on it, with their prompt, and us all doing them together, back last summer. So
I love that
because I sent one to a contest, or actually an anthology, and it got taken. But aside from that, I haven't sent any out, and I haven't read them yet. So I'm really relieved to hear that I have at least one person who likes.
I love them, and they have to be published. And I think, as a memorial of this particular time that we're living in, they are, not only capturing these things that we're all experiencing, but they're very kind of humorous and fun and reflective in a kind of delightful way. And making anything about this time kind of a little bit delightful is really good.
Yeah. And with hope, they will soon become outdated. We will.
Indeed.
Historical.
Historical.
Yes. And what about you, Joanna? How has it been since all of this began for you?
The only thing I can think to say is that one of the iterations of Thunderbird Rising did involve Kellen maybe solving the pandemic, and it got thrown out the window with and it really, Aunt Delay at that time was she was more of a guide than a nasty antagonist. But once that got tossed out and it got trimmed down through workshops and through the suggestions of all of my colleagues, I think working on the screenplay and the novel allowed me to escape.
Yes.
And that was what it did.
Absolutely. I think, I think many of us can relate. I feel like there was like a general nod, like, yes, it helped me to escape. It helped me to kind of cope and to deal with things. Absolutely. So while people are still sending their questions in, I would really like to ask, Joanna, you have this beautiful photo with your bio of you with a gorgeous horse. And so I'm dying to know how familiar you are with this world that you're writing about in your screenplay, with the horses on these scenes, and how did you get into this particular subject matter?
You mean the horses you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, not the
horses and also the mining and
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm curious about. Clearly, I mean, horses are important, especially in that first scene. But then there's all this technical stuff,
biochemical stuff.
Like, how much of that is real and research, and is that something you were already interested in, or is it?
No, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a chemist. I've been involved with horses since I was 11, and Kellen was the protagonist and the delays in a novel that I started in 98, and I set it aside. And then I think it was 2003, we were on vacation in New England, because at the time we lived in Seattle, and I needed a beach book, and I pulled off the shelf. It was a nonfiction about the rise of Foxwood Casino. And,
wow.
Yeah, and started reading that, and I was just fascinated by it. And I started to meld in the vacuum of my mind, Kellen's character. I wanted a strong female scientist because they're not well represented in literature.
Right.
That with Foxwood Casinos, and imagine them taking over. At the time, it was energy technology.
Wow.
By the time I got to my first residency, I had 16 foreign nations involved in this, and all of the Native Americans in the country. And slowly it got whittled down to something that is what it is now.
That is so fascinating. I love this. I'm very, very excited about this screenplay and about your process here. This is really great. And I love what you're doing in terms of representation there too. And it's a fascinating story. I was involved. I was stressed. I was in the action. I was getting into the characters. Carrie, I know you guys were all very focused on playing your parts. Carrie was cracking me up with these, funny lines and her costume changes. And, it was great. It was a very cool mix of, being very interested in what's happening in the story and these characters and the humor, and also kind of being in a different story than I'm typically in. So really enjoyed that.
Carrie is a playwright, as well as being a FUMFA candidate, and she's produced 18. So she's, I think.
Really, say that again. I'm so sorry. You were muted.
18 production.
I was saying the author's photo is just amazing too. I said it made me want to take up horseback riding so I could pose with a horse myself.
I know, isn't it the most gorgeous photo of Joanna with this most gorgeous horse?
What
Yes,
Photoshop?
and your photo, Julie, just
That's
gorgeous
real.
as well.
His name is Scooby.
His name is Scooby. Very nice. We have some questions that have come in. I'm going to put up first from Brenda Sorrells. She would love to hear about your process. And so this is going to be probably pretty different for both of you. Julie, let's start with you. What is your process? How do you get into a poem? How do you decide about form if you're going there? And how do you, I guess, also shape a manuscript since you've published several and you've edited several?
Oh gosh, lots of questions there.
Sorry.
I guess poems start when something is bothering me. It's, it can be just an image or, a phrase or something like that, and I think of it as like that little sand irritant that gets in an oyster and the oyster has to start building a little, pearl around it, to get rid of the irritation.
Oh, I love that metaphor.
That's it. I have to start making that poem to kind of, whatever that is, to neutralize that thing. I still write in longhand, even though I type, articles and, letters and things like that. For some reason, poems still keep pace with longhand for me.
Yeah.
I like to handwrite them and keep crossing them out and crossing them out and crossing them out. I don't usually know what form a poem is going to take. Sometimes, I'll just start just writing down lines and fragments of it and, sometimes get off to a false start. But, after a while, the poem kind of tells me, what form it wants to take. And I find for me, it's different for a lot of people, but for me, form is very freeing. Form causes me to go in directions that I wouldn't otherwise go in. If I'm writing, for me, when I'm just writing freely and I can write any line I want to, what's going to come out is going to be more off the top of my head, more ordinary. But if I'm forced into, this constriction where I have to have so many syllables or, it has to at least, I like off rhyme, slant rhyme. I don't like the moon, June, spoon stuff, but, for some reason that always knocks me into these surprising directions and things come to me that I already have. And it's different, for other people form is really constricting, but for me, it's kind of
sort of propels you forward. It gives you this structure and it pushes you forward. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And
I love
it. I'm wondering, Julie, because these duplex poems about the pandemic, I think it seems like you went into those knowing, okay, these are going to be duplex poems.
Yes. In this case,
but there are other poems that you start and say, you read a villanelle, say, tonight. And so do you work your way towards the villain, that being a villanelle, or do you say something about, well, this irritant in the oyster deserves a villanelle, or does it have to become half of a pearl, and then you say, to get it all the way there, it needs to be a villanelle?
I've experimented with a lot of forms by now. So for me, different forms, they're almost like musical keys or something like that. Different forms have like different potentials. The villanelle is really good for obsessive thoughts that are going round and round, in your head that you can't quite come to a resolution, but you have to. When you get that extra line at the end, you have to, kind of, close the deal there. Sonnets are more like a little argument, here's this, and here's, and they're all very different. I like the duplex so much because it's just like, free association. It's just one line just sparks off the next and they're vaguely related and you don't really have to worry about making too much sense, And you don't have to worry about ending it because you have to go back to the beginning at the end. So
yes.
It was
Right.
just fun. It was fun for me writing
I
those.
love that, Julie. That's so fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And what about you, Joanna? Your process. How do you get started? How do you work through something and edit it?
So my genre is actually fiction. It's not screenwriting. And I've got no lack of imagination. It's the reining in part of it that's the tough part. And I spent the semester out of genre doing screenwriting with Bill Patrick, and before that, the story development with all these wonderful people that read with me. And it was that was the process that actually focused the novel into something that was more compelling than it had been.
Awesome.
Yeah, on a micro level, I use music. I'll hear a song and a scene plays out in my head as I
I
hear
love it.
Yeah.
Joanna, I have a question. Are you writing the screenplay the same time as you're writing the novel? So I'm fascinated by how that works. Like, do you wake up and say today's a screenplay day, or
I'm more of a fan of screenwriting than I am of writing prose right now, because I can't slow my ass down to be able to like linger in the space to write the prose. So I have to be in a really calm kind of in a calm state to be able to write the prose. And it depends on what kind of mood I'm in when I wake up in the morning, I guess. And I've got the time to be able to do that.
well, I mean, when you say you're writing the screenplay and you write a new scene, it's like next time you sit down with the novel, then you have to write the prose version of that scene.
I am farther ahead with the screenplay than I am with because I like the screenplay more.
So
you like the screenplay more?
It's all that white space. You're allowed to have all that white space. Right? I mean, it's just like you can breathe.
I told Bill that after I think I described screenwriting as you're in a Porsche Boxster, you're driving around the curves of a mountain, and you have to get out and get in a Prius and go to the grocery store. And so the first one is screenwriting, and the second one is prose to me right now. I'll get there.
That's cool. That's very interesting. I think, I think screenwriting was a good thing for you to dive into, since you're feeling so, inspired by that. That is so great. We have a question from Philip J. Curtis.
Yeah, we got a couple of them.
We actually have two, Philip. Thank you.
So they're both basically for Joanna. I'm thinking maybe this one for now, because this is something people are interested in. As you create characters, do you sometimes write it with someone specific in mind to bring the character to life? Not only that, I mean, certainly as an actor, you might have somebody in mind, but also, I wonder, do you have somebody in mind, and from real life?
Right. I actually, Kellen is bits and pieces of many of my family members. I'm not Kellen, that's for sure. I'm not that smart, but she does have characteristics of my family members. And Patricia DeLay was supposed to symbolize a great aunt, but her character has changed so much that she's nothing like this woman anymore.
Oh,
I hope not.
But yeah, I do grab bits and pieces of characteristics of people that I know and meet and stick them in here and there.
And then do you picture actual actors?
That's a good question. I think that I love the show Yellowstone, and you would think that this was modeled off Yellowstone, but it isn't, because I started mine first. I can only dream of being like that. The chief I love the chief in Yellowstone, so I think I would pick him. I don't think I have any characters for the others.
Huh?
Any ideas?
Any ideas?
Play in my head.
Well, I like the actors from tonight. I thought they were fabulous. I really enjoyed that. We're gonna be doing more screenplay. Yeah.
I'm just assuming I was the young mover with the muscles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Not the older mover with the tattoos. So
right.
keep that in mind.
Wanted to be a stripper.
Chris always wanted to be a stripper. Just
Chip and Dale kind of a thing. If you,
you know, on romance night on Valentine's Day, you don't know. You might Chris might surprise us all.
you got to tune in.
You have to. You're gonna have to see. You're gonna have to see what happens. That's
Julie, I'm wondering about your recent. I don't want to call it obsession, but your dedication to writing about, as you say, your Irish ancestors. Like, where did something inspire that? Was it the pandemic and sitting around and, you know, thinking about your heritage? Or, you know, what brought that on?
Good question. You know, I moved away from my family after I got married. I moved down to Louisiana. And so, you know, I was more than 1,000 miles away from that, you know, nexus of, you know, where I was raised Boston Irish Catholic, and,
wow.
you know, where all the relatives were, you know, there with, you know, carrying the culture. So,
Yes.
you know, for a long time, I was really writing about, you know, Louisiana and, you know, not really thinking about it. But I guess about 10 years ago, I just started kind of doing a little bit of genealogy. You know, I'd always thought that it was for snobby people who wanted to feel as if they, you know, find out they were descended from royalty, you know, and I never really realized, you know, suddenly I thought, all 8 of my great grandparents are from Ireland, but I don't know where in Ireland they're from, or I don't, you know, I thought they'd come over during the potato famine, but I didn't really know. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, I had the tools to kind of start looking into it, you know, these online databases. And my mother, both parents were dead, you know, by then, but my mother's stories started coming back to me. And I saw another question on here, Julia, storytelling in your family, from Elizabeth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, my father never talked about his family. And my mother, she wasn't one of those, you know, I have friends who are storytellers and they tell stories, you know, they lot of, you know, but my mother would just kind of pass on these little secrets, you know, about people in the family. And because they were, you know, kind of usually shocking, I retained them and held on to them. And that's where a lot of these poems come from, you know, these little tidbits that my mother fed me that aren't, you know, not like storytelling, like, you know, the great storytellers who will sit you down and, you know, regale you for half an hour.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, kind of storytelling. So anyhow, that's what got me started. And, you know, the more I found out, you know, it's almost like when you really get into genealogy like that, the characters start coming alive. You know, it's almost like you're reading a novel, but these are, you know, your ancestors, you know, and they start, you know, you start getting caught up in the drama of their lives and everything. So all that kind of came together when I was writing the poems that went into that book.
A friend of mine just found out he's related to Lizzie Borden, and I'm so jealous, you know.
Oh dear.
Yes.
What? That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I'd stay on his good side if I were you. I wouldn't anger the fellow.
Right, yeah.
He was found not guilty, so we don't know.
True. That's so great, Julie. I love that. And you could definitely feel that kind of family intimacy and these characters in those particular poems. Really wonderful. Absolutely. Chris, should we get into
I think so.
our famous last double question? Give them plenty of time.
So I think that now is the time.
Perfect.
So we have a double question. Part 2 is very easy. Part 1 is we're just asking for pearls of wisdom for other writers. If you were pressed, you know, at a party in a corner, and the person said, give me one thing, one pearl of wisdom, because I'm a writer, what would that pearl of wisdom be? Part 2 is tell us, give us a book suggestion, anything.
Book recommendation.
A recent or otherwise.
Yes.
So pearl of wisdom, and then book recommendation. So
And we'll start with Joanna. Joanna, go dive in, Joanna.
So I would say for grad students to be brave. The time goes by really fast. Dig in, participate in everything that you can, and soak it all up and listen to your mentors. Do you want the book too now?
Absolutely. Yes, that's excellent advice. And hit us with that book recommendation, Joanna.
So for books, I believe in the fundamentals, the Janet Burroway's reading fiction, yes, and John Gardner's The Art of Fiction, and then I usually take those and others, and I'll study a craft element and apply it to novels that I think use that craft element really well, like whether it's voice or detail, or I've got some go-to books that I need to be inspired, I go to those novels.
What are those go-to books?
Well, one of them for voice, it's Eugenia Kim's The Kinship of Secrets. Yeah. And Tobias Wolff is incredible with detail.
Yep.
So is T.H. White, The Once and Future King. I just started reading that. Phenomenal.
Nice.
All right.
We've been dying to get Eugenia Kim on here. Eugenia.
I know she's been dodging and weaving. She's tough to lean down.
We hope to have her on soon, but thank you so much, Joanna. And let's throw it over to you, Julie. Pearl of Wisdom, one or more. We have time for maybe a few.
Pearl of Wisdom. I would say, write what you want to read, but you can't find.
Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
That's really good.
And you want like a craft book or a book of.
Oh no, it could be anything that is inspired you.
I was going to say, if you're interested in reading a little more about poetic forms, there's a book by Annie Finch and Catherine Barnes called An Exaltation of Forms, and it has essays in it, by all different, poets who are each good, at a certain form, and each essay kind of gives the history, and the cultural context of the form, and like some how-to and some examples of it. It's really, it's a fun read besides being, really, really useful if you're interested in, in doing that a little bit more. And oh gosh, I read so many wonderful poetry books. I said Jericho Brown's The Tradition is one of the best ones I've read in recent years. I'm just now reading one that's really fun, a British poet, Hannah Sullivan, 3 poems. The first one about kind of being young in New York City in the 90s. That's just a killer long poem that can't get out of my mind. So definitely recommend that one for now.
And what's that name again?
Hannah Sullivan, 3 poems. It's a British, it came out from Faber and Faber in England, but it really, knocked the top of my head off. It was really good.
Nice.
I shouldn't admit it, but I read a lot of, like thriller books too.
Oh, that's good. Everything that you enjoy, that you get into, it's worthy.
Yeah, I'll leave that right there.
Okay. About this book with by Annie Finch about these different poetic forms. Julie, did you contribute to that book?
No, I don't have an essay in that book. If there were ever to be a reprint of it, I might,
dive in.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, but the Villanelle one is by Maxine Kuhlman, who, she did an amazing job with it.
That is so great. I'm excited to get my hands on both of those books for sure.
Good.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, if we've had a fabulous night. We don't have any other questions coming in at the moment, but I feel like we should just leave it there. Fabulous pearls of wisdom and recommendations from you both. And thank you both for your readings tonight. Thank you so much to our special guest poet, Julie Kane, and to Joanna Meyers.
Brava.
Thank you both. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was really fun.
It really was. And thank you to Joanna's readers out there. We definitely need to do more screenplay and master the art of streaming that. And we'd love to have you both back at some point for an open mic, for a theme night, for a second reading. Please get in touch with us if you're publishing anything. And please, spread the word, join our audience. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up. And always, as always, thank you to our wonderful audience for watching and enjoying.
Thank you, everybody. And if anybody wants to participate in this shindig here, let us know.
Absolutely. And with that, stay safe in the snowstorm if you're in the Northeast right now.
Hunker down.
And have a great night. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Night.